It usually happens when the world is quiet. You are lying in bed, the safety of the sheets pulled up to your chin, the lights out, the day done. You are safe, you are warm. There is no predator at the door. There is no immediate crisis. But then it starts, a whisper. It reminds you of a conversation you had 5 years ago where you said something slightly awkward. Then it pivots. It shows you a montage of your potential future failures. It asks you if you're actually good at your job or if you've just been fooling everyone. It questions if your friends actually like you or if they just tolerate you. Suddenly your heart rate spikes. Cortisol floods your system. You are fighting for your life against an enemy that doesn't exist. This is the fundamental paradox of the human experience. We possess the most complex biological structure in the known universe, the human brain. And yet, for many of us, it functions not as a supercomputer, but as a saboteur. There is a terrifying realization that hits you when you stop distracting yourself. Your mind is not your friend. It is a survival engine, and it doesn't care if you are happy. It only cares if you are alive. To understand why our minds turn against us, we have to look at the architecture. We have to strip away the poetry and look at the wiring. Evolutionary psychology tells us a hard truth. Happiness is not an evolutionary priority. If you were a prehistoric human walking through the savannah, and you were perfectly content, relaxed, and optimistic, you were likely the first one to get eaten. The ancestors who survived, the ones whose DNA flows through your veins right now, were the paranoid ones. They were the ones who heard a rustle in the grass and immediately thought lion, not wind. They were the ones obsessively planning for a famine during the harvest. We have inherited a brain that is biased toward negativity. Psychologists call this the negativity bias. It takes 5 positive interactions to outweigh the psychological impact of 1 negative interaction. Your mind is like Velcro for bad experiences and Teflon for good ones. This isn't a malfunction. It is a feature designed for a world that no longer exists. We are running Stone Age software in a digital age environment. The lion is now an email from your boss. The famine is a vague worry about the stock market. The brain reacts with the same chemical intensity, the fight or flight response, to social embarrassment as it does to a physical threat. Your mind is a security guard that has been on duty for 200,000 years without a break, waving a gun at a butterfly because it might be dangerous. Act 2. The loop of rumination. Let's move from the hardware to the software. Enter the default mode network, or DMN. Neuroscience has identified this specific network in the brain that lights up when you aren't doing anything specific. When you aren't solving a math problem or driving a car, your brain defaults to this network. And what does the DMN do? It time travels. It regrets the past and worries about the future. This is where the self is constructed. This is the narrator, the voice. In psychology, there is a concept known as rumination. It comes from the Latin word for chewing cud, like a cow chewing regurgitated grass. That is what the mind does with trauma or anxiety. It brings it up, chews on it, swallows it, and brings it up again. This is where the mind becomes actively hostile. It convinces you that by worrying, you are solving the problem. It feels like work. It feels like preparation. But it is actually just a loop. The mind traps you in a simulation of catastrophe. Consider the phenomenon of intrusive thoughts. You are standing on a train platform and your mind whispers, "What if I jumped?" You are holding a baby and your mind says, "Drop him." If you believe your mind is your friend, these thoughts are terrifying. You think, "I must be a monster." But if you accept the premise that your mind is a chaotic, distinct organ, you realize these are just misfiring neurons. They are noise, not signal. The suffering comes not from the thought itself, but from our attachment to it. Act 3. The philosophical diagnosis. Long before fMRIs and cognitive behavioral therapy, the great philosophers understood this internal civil war. The Stoics, particularly Seneca, famously said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." The Stoics realized that the mind is a storyteller that loves tragedy. It is a drama queen. If you lose your job, the reality is, you are currently unemployed and need to apply for work. The story your mind tells is, you are a failure, you will end up homeless, and you will die alone. The suffering is in the story, not the event. Existentialism takes a darker yet liberating view. Jean-Paul Sartre suggested that we are condemned to be free. The anxiety we feel, the dizziness of freedom, is the mind grappling with the fact that there is no script. Your mind wants certainty in a chaotic universe. When it can't find certainty, It manufactures fear because fear is preferable to the unknown. Fear feels like a map. But perhaps the most profound analysis comes from Eastern philosophy. Buddhism suggests that the root of all suffering is the illusion that you are your mind. They call it the monkey mind, drunken, stinging scorpions jumping from tree to tree. The mistake we make in the West is trying to debate the monkey. We try to use logic to silence the anxiety. But you cannot fight the mind with the mind. That is like trying to put out a fire with a flamethrower. Act 4. The modern melancholy. We must acknowledge the current cultural landscape. We are living in an era where the hostile mind is amplified by algorithms. If your mind is already prone to comparison, which it is because social hierarchy was vital for tribal survival, social media is a weapon of mass destruction. We feed our minds data that confirms we are not enough. We are not rich enough, pretty enough, or happy enough. This leads to the specific type of depression described in the song by The National, from which this concept often draws its name. It's not just sadness, it's a disconnect. It's the feeling of being trapped inside a skull that is lying to you. It's the exhaustion of constant vigilance. When your mind is not your friend, you are never truly alone. You are locked in a room with your harshest critic. This critic knows all your insecurities. It knows exactly where to hit to make it hurt. This creates a split. There is the you who wants to get up, shower, and live a life. And there is the mind that says, why bother? It's all pointless. This is the psychological concept of learned helplessness. If the mind convinces you that you have no agency, you stop trying to escape the cage, even when the door is open. Act Phi, the great detachment. So where is the hope? If our biology is wired for fear, and our philosophy confirms our anxiety, are we doomed? No, the solution lies in a radical shift in perspective. We must break the identification with the mind. We must realize that we are not our thoughts. We are the observer of the thoughts. Picture a blue sky. Clouds drift across it. Some clouds are white and fluffy. Some are dark and storm-laden. The clouds are your thoughts. The sky is your consciousness. When a storm comes, the sky is not harmed. It is merely obscured. The sky does not try to fight the clouds. It allows them to pass. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, operates on this principle. It teaches us to put our thoughts on trial. When the mind says everyone hates you, the observer asks, where is the evidence? Is this a fact or is this a feeling? Oh, we have to treat the mind like an annoying roommate. You can hear him talking in the other room, complaining about the weather and the economy. You don't have to tape his mouth shut, but you also don't have to pull up a chair and believe everything he says. You can just say, I hear you, and go back to what you were doing. Epilogue, the truce. We cannot fire our minds. We need them to do our taxes, to cross the street safely, to compose symphonies, but we can renegotiate the contract. The journey of maturity is realizing that the voice in your head is just a voice. It is a biological byproduct, a relentless generator of suggestions. Most of those suggestions are garbage. Some are gold. Wisdom is learning to tell the difference. Your mind is not your friend, it is a tool. A hammer is not your friend. If you leave it alone, it does nothing. If you use it wrong, you smash your thumb. But if you master it, you can build a house. The silence you seek at 3 a.m. will not come from winning the argument with your mind. It will come from realizing there is no need to argue at all. It comes from watching the dark thought arise, acknowledging its presence, and gently, firmly, returning your attention to your breath. You are not the storm, you are the sky. Act 6, the shadow in the basement. If we are to fully understand why the mind acts as an adversary, we must descend from the conscious chatter into the basement. We must speak of the shadow. Carl Jung, the Swiss psychiatrist, proposed a terrifying idea. You are not just who you think you are. You are also everything you refuse to be. The mind is a curator. From the moment you were born, it began curating your personality based on what was acceptable to your parents, your teachers, and your society. If you were angry and your parents punished anger, your mind didn't delete the anger. It shoved it into the basement. It repressed it. This is the shadow self. The reason your mind feels like an enemy is often because the shadow is banging on the floorboards. When you feel a sudden, inexplicable wave of irritability or a flash of dark jealousy toward a friend's success, that is the shadow leaking through. The conscious mind, the public relations manager, panics. It says, I am a good person, I shouldn't feel this. This creates a civil war. The mind uses vast amounts of energy to keep the door to the basement shut. This is why you feel exhausted, even when you haven't done any physical work. You are psychologically holding a beach ball underwater. The mind is not your friend here because it is operating on a strategy of denial. It believes that if it hides your dark traits, you will be safe. But the paradox, as Jung noted, is that what you resist persists. By fighting the shadow, the mind turns it into a monster. The friendly mind would invite the monster up for tea. The hostile mind locks it away until it breaks the door down. Act 7. The addiction to suffering. We must now confront an uncomfortable truth, one that neuroscience has begun to validate. We are chemically addicted to our own misery. We like to believe that we want to be happy. We tell our friends we want peace. But watch the mind closely. When things are going well, when the relationship is stable, the job is secure, the health is good, what does the mind do? It gets bored, it starts looking for a problem. Why? Because peace is chemically boring. Trauma and anxiety, however, are stimulants. When you are in a loop of worry, your brain releases cortisol and adrenaline. These are powerful hormones. They make you feel alive. They make you feel important. There is a perverse ego in suffering. The mind whispers, "Look how much I worry. That means I care. Look how much pain I am in. That means I am deep." The mind constructs an identity around victimhood. If you have been depressed or anxious for 10 years, that anxiety is no longer just a feeling. It is who you are. The mind defends this identity with ferocity. If someone offers you a solution, your mind will find a reason to reject it. It will say, "That won't work for me. My case is special." This is the ultimate betrayal. Your mind would rather be right and miserable than wrong and happy. It clings to the familiar hell because the unknown heaven is too frightening to contemplate. Act 8. The filter of reality. Let's look at the mechanics of perception. There is a bundle of nerves at the base of your brain called the reticular activating system, RAS. Its job is to filter the billions of bits of data coming at you every day. It decides what you notice and what you ignore. If your mind is operating in hostile mode, your RAS is programmed to find threats. You can walk down a street filled with smiling people, beautiful architecture and blooming flowers. But if your mind is set to hostile, you will only notice the one person who gives you a dirty look, the piece of trash on the sidewalk, and the gray cloud in the sky. You literally do not see the good. Your eyes capture the light, but your mind deletes the image before it reaches your conscious awareness. This is confirmation bias weaponized against the self. The mind has a theory. The world is dangerous and I am not good enough. It then spends every waking second acting like a lawyer trying to win a case, looking only for evidence that supports that theory. If you get 10 compliments and 1 insult, the mind discards the 10 compliments as flukes or lies and latches onto the insult as truth. It puts the insult under a microscope. It analyzes the tone, the phrasing, the intent. It keeps the file open on your desktop for weeks. This is not reality. This is a curated hallucination designed to keep you small, safe, and unhappy. Act 9. The body keeps the score. The war is not just in your head. The mind attacks the body. When the mind generates a catastrophic thought, "I'm going to get fired," it doesn't matter that the thought is fake. The body reacts as if it is real. The body prepares for physical combat. Digestion shuts down. The immune system is suppressed. Blood thickens to clot in case of a wound. But the wound never comes, the tiger never attacks. You're just sitting in an office chair. So this toxic cocktail of chemicals has nowhere to go. It marinates your organs. Over time, the hostile mind creates physical disease, chronic inflammation, hypertension, insomnia, autoimmune disorders. These are often the collateral damage of a mind that doesn't know how to stand down. The mind is a negligent general. It orders the bombing of its own territory, burning down the village to save it. It sacrifices the body's long-term health for short-term vigilance against imaginary enemies. Act X. The tyranny of I. Philosophy asks, who is the I that is suffering? In the West, particularly in American culture, we are obsessed with the individual self, the ego. We believe we are the center of the movie. The mind loves this. The mind thrives on main character energy. When you believe you are the center of the universe, every small event feels like a personal attack. Traffic isn't just cars, it's the universe blocking you. Rain isn't just weather, it's ruining your weekend. The hostile mind takes everything personally. It cannot comprehend that the universe is indifferent to it. There is a state of being where the mind finally shuts up. Psychologists like Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi call it flow. Think about athletes in the zone, musicians in a jam session, or a surgeon mid-operation. In these moments, the DMN, default mode network, shuts down. The voice that says, "Am I doing this right? Do they like me? What about tomorrow?" vanishes.